Hello, in this video we're going to cover how to deal with custom families, in particular here a precast concrete beam. And we'll take a look at how it was built. We'll dissect it a bit and we'll talk about how to build a beam correctly. So let's take a look. This is a model I received from the client, which you guys, Jennifer and Ruth. And what we're going to do is take a look at a particular beam and how to, again, take it apart and put it back together. I'm going to hit Control Tab, or actually I'll just go to first floor plan level here. And you'll see in here I have some walls and all that, and everything's red in here. We'll talk about that in a minute. I'm going to grab this element. I'm going to grab this element. I'm going to show you a tool that I find very helpful. It's an add-on for Revit. It's called Coins Section Box. So under Add, and you'll see it says here Coins Section Box. Coins actually is a reseller for Autodesk products, and they write add-ins. This is a free add-in. You can find it on the Autodesk Exchange, and that is up here in the corner. You can't really see it on my screen, but the Autodesk Exchange. You can also find a link on our website, thebimguys.com. But it's pretty slick. You highlight two elements, you hit Auto Section Box, and it's going to ask you what view do you want to use, right? So I'm going to use maybe this one. I could have created one ahead of time. And it says an element, element extents plus a buffer. So I'm going to say take the objects that I've highlighted right here in blue, plus 3 foot. I hit OK, and what it does, it puts them like so, which is pretty nice. So now this has given me the ability to kind of spin around and look at the model. Now I'm going to take this from shaded and put it back to hidden line so I can see it a little bit easier now. So as I roll through here, you'll see we have lots of different elements that we may want to, let's say, tinker with. And I'm going to roll over here and I pick on this element here. This is some specialized precast beam, right? And maybe that's what we want to tinker with. Now, one thing about the section box is it's a regular section box just like Revit. All it's done is it's given us a quick access to it. You can create them fast and efficient. So I'm a big fan of the auto section box. I use it all the time. So I grab that element and I'm going to hit Edit Family. Now I'm going to get into some rules of families. When I bring this guy up again, I'm going to change him back to hidden line so he's not so bold and in our face. And you'll see that it is a neat little object. You think, oh, that's kind of cool how they built it. Now the first thing you'll notice is we're in 3D. When you're in 3D, you do not see the actual parametrics or the bones that make it up. So what you want to do is go in and actually let's look at the math of how to build it. Now if I go up here to views, I expand it out, and the main ones I'm going to mess with are the floors and the elevations. Those are the ones you want to mess with. I'm going to go right to floor plans, and you'll see they put the length in here. So they have a length, and they also have a little setback here, okay, and a setback here, and length and equal. Now whenever you're building a family, I'm going to get to the basic rules here. When you're building a family, what you want to do is consider the framework. That's probably the biggest part of building a family. Now if I look at this, you'll notice that I have reference level. Now there are some golden rules of family building, family creation. One is put the dimensions in reference level of the floor plan in the front view and either or the right view. Now you can put them in other views, but what it does, they start to get lost, and then a new user, let's say Ruth, you build it and Jennifer wants to work on it, she doesn't know where to find those elements. So if we always remember floor plan, the front view and the right view, then we can find all the mathematics. Now you'll see there's no mathematics in here. I see references, reference planes, but there's no mathematics to drive it. I'll go to left, again, nothing there. So they can also be nested, which I don't recommend, and you'll see how that works in a moment. So before we go any further, let's explain what these things are and how they work. Now you'll notice that these numbers do not have text next to them. If we go back to the main floor here, you'll see it says length. Now this is what they call a parameter or a variable. If I go to Foursquare right here, see this little thing with little 4 squares, right? You'll see it says family types. This is what the user is going to see. So if I come in here and I type in, instead of 9'7", I type in 4 foot. When I hit OK, you'll notice that, see how the mathematics draw in. Now what's happening with this family is whoever built it, there was a loss of connectivity somewhere along here, so this extension or the model line is not being shown inside of this element. So we have an issue there. So we'll deal with that as we move forward. So I'm going to go ahead and hit undoing that. But that's what the variables do. They drive those elements. Now what we want to deal with is what's wrong with this family and how can we fix it. Before we go there, let's take a look at the basics of a family creation. I'm going to drop this down. I'm going to go New Project, excuse me, New Family, start a new family, and Revit's going to open up a series of templates. You can use any template to get started with, but you want to use one that relates to what you're working with. I mean, if it's going to be face-based, you want to use face-based. If you're going to use something else, etc. Let me drop this down. I'm going to come over here and say Family Templates. Now when I go to English, you'll see lots of stuff in here. What is it? And you come on down and there's lots and lots and lots of different elements. Now you can also use a generic one and then change the aspects of it later, just so you can see. I'm gonna start with the generic model. Now we have no smoke and mirrors here. I hit open. Starts off with a very clean box here, and again, this is going to be the fundamentals of building a family. So the first thing we'll do is we click on these green lines. These are reference planes, or you can call them bones. You'll notice that it says defines origin. That's going to be, if you're looking at x, y, z coordinates, that would be the x. This would be the y, and that defines it. And if we go to the front view, you'll see there is the z, which is the level that it's placed on. And again, that's how we set them up. So that's the basis there. Now, when you want to build a parametric family, I recommend doing three things first before you actually even do any solids. Let's switch over to a little graphic I have. What you want to do is you want to put in all of the bones or reference planes. Put the bones in, okay? Once you put the bones in, or the reference planes, then you're going to put in dimensions. Now the dimensions are going to be the muscles that move the bones. So as you make the dimension larger, it pushes the bones out and then hence changes the model. So we got bones, muscles, put some dimensions in there, and then we want to add brains. We want the user to be able to type a distance or a length or a height. So what we do is we build in a parameter. That's number 3, the brains. We'll build a parameter in, or a variable, that the user can type that number in, and this object will expand or contract. So those are the 3 things you want to build before you even start building the solid. The last thing you do is you build the solid, and you'll see that's the purple or magenta line coming around here, and it is the skin, and we will associate that with the bones. Okay? So to recap, the bones are the framework, the dimensions are the muscles, the brains are the parameters or variables, and then we wrap it with the skin, which is actually the solid. If you keep that in mind when you build your models and you follow that process, you'll be in good hands. If you start jumping around a whole bunch, it can get overwhelming. So set up all your bones, set up all your dimensions or your muscles, set up your brains, and then flex it. Make sure it works right. Make sure all your mathematics and framework work. If your framework works, then you add the solid. Life is good. A couple of rules here. Always lock the skin or the solid to the bones directly. You don't want to hook a solid to a solid. You do a solid to a solid, that's it. Kiss of death. Model crashes. So you want to make sure it's always locking the skin to the bones. Now let's go ahead and actually build one. Back in Revit. Here we go. I'm going to move kind of quick. I'm going to drop top down here. Oh, we already have it open. Never mind. Create. I want to create a reference plane, not a reference line. Reference plane. Come here. Come down. There's one. Okay. Not worried about exactly where it is in relationship to the center. I'll put these off a little bit so you can see. Okay. So there is my basic framework. Now I'm just going to make a cube just so you can see the basics. So I put in my framework on my basic bones. Now put in some dimensions. I go up top to again to create. Actually go annotate now, and you'll see aligned. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3. Place it equal. That's going to keep them centered. And again 1, 2, 3. Place it and hit equal. Now remember the center one is pinned, so that's why everything flexes about it. Now we've got those in place. Let's do an overall. Set that one there, and I'll set that one here. Now time to add the variables. Let's say this is going to be the width. This will be depth. So we grab this guy. Now see that it has 4.8 in there. If you look up top, look at the properties. See it says a label. It doesn't say parameter here. It says label. If you drop it down, it says add a parameter. I'm going to type in width. Hit OK on that. Make sure it says type in this instance. Not instance right now. Type. Well, we can discuss these in the future. Hit OK. So there it is, width. And now I'll set depth for here. Depending on what you're working on, width, depth, and all those, that's up to you. Just use terms that people will understand. So that's just width and depth. Now, we've got the bones, the muscles, and the brains. We got the, if you want to go through the technical terms, we have the reference planes, dimensions, and we have our parameters. Now, to test it, this is very important. This is the flex part of the model. We go up top and we hit the 4 square. And what you do is you type in new numbers. I'm going to say 3 by 5. I hit apply. Notice how the framework updated. That is important to check. Now let's put in our skin. Create solid. Extrusion. Now I'm going to use a rectangle and I'm going to use a point from here to here. And if I did that, it would actually give me the ability to instantly lock all the boxes. But this is where some people get in trouble. I'm going to use the line here. Now you want to make sure that chain is turned off, and here's why. If it's on, which is normal Revit, I pick and I pick, and then I stop. See the locks? Ah, they went away. I try it again. I pick, see the locks? Ah, went away. So the real trick is, let me hit undo twice to get out of this. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on or turn off chain. Now what it does, instead of letting me chain all the lines together, it pauses for me to pick the locks, and I can draw them around. Now you can use a rectangle or other shapes, and that's fine, but what I'm doing here is just using this so you can see how I physically go around and lock all of the solids to the bone here. At that point I hit finish, and if I go to 3D, you'll notice that now we have a cube. Let's go ahead and flex it. We're going to change it to, let's say, 1 by 1. We hit OK. Notice it jumps, and there it is. Awesome. Now we go to the front view. There is no parameter to add height, so let's quickly do that. I'm going to create a reference plane. I did that by create similar, and I'm just going to go down and dirty here. I'm going to put a dimension from here to here. Always use aligned. Here to here. Okay. Do not lock it to the solid. You lock it to the solid, it blows up. Always dimensions to the bones. Okay, those are the rules. Now we grab it. We add a parameter. It's going to be height. Now you'll notice that I'm doing the exact same thing I did before, height. Now let's flex the model. Go up here, I'm going to say 2 foot, and let's put 3 so we can actually see it. See the bone jumped? Beautiful. I'm going to grab this solid. I can either stretch it or I can use the align command. Align, grab it, and lock it. I like using the align command because I know I'm locking to that particular element. So now we go back to 3-dimensional view. Okay, and we're going to hit family types. I'm going to change this to, let's say, I don't know, 3. Ooh, that's kind of big. Let's try maybe 5 by 4 by 2. Ooh, I hate when it happens. Try that again, 2. And we hit OK. So, boop. Now, see, it resized it up. So that is how the basics of a family should be created is. We want to use reference planes. Okay, we want to use dimensions and parameters that are easy to understand and that are visible. We'll cover that in the next video. And then the user, what they're going to see is this. So if I would load this into the project, now I didn't save it a family or anything, but if I bring it in here and I hit OK, it's going to come into that project, and here it is. Now I can't see where I'm going to place it, so I'm going to go to first level, and we'll do that again. I'll go back to, let's say, architecture here, component, and you'll see it's the last one that I brought in, or the last one that I hit. So I place it. Now what the user is going to see is when I grab this and they go edit type, you'll see how it says depth, height, and width. Notice they're all in lowercase, exactly how I typed them. So the user could come in here and create a duplicated type, and let's say this is going to be a 5 by 5 by 5. They can say 5 by 5 by 5. So now I give it a name because we're using types, and I set all these to 5 by 5 and by 5. I hit OK on that, and what we've done is, see, there's our new cube. So we drop this down, and then you can see we have all these different sizes. So there you go. In the next video, we'll cover how to take that particular column and fix it.